Back for another brew day. This time we're going to be doing a kettle sour beer. So it's the first time I've attempted a kettle sour beer, and in this video it's going to be a little bit longer than the usual videos, but we're going to run through the recipe in detail. We're going to run through the full process in detail, every kind of step of the way, and we're going to do a kettle sour. So there's a couple of different ways we can do a sour beer, right, Raphael?
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, sour beer is a very old style. Back in the days, I think they just brewed beer with wild yeast and it would turn sour. You know, like like a contamination. But today there's a lot of different ways, and we're gonna be focusing on kettle sour.
Kettle sour. So we're using the Brewzilla. Before we get started to the recipe and then the brew day. For those brewers who haven't tried one before, it's a very similar process. You know, you mash in, you sparge. Then you only boil for like 10-15 minutes just to kill off anything that's inside, and then you'll drop the temperature down to 40 degrees, and then you'll add some lactic acid or phosphoric acid. Yeah, to bring the pH down to 4.4, and then you'll bring some sort of probiotic, some
lactobacillus.
Yes, exactly. To try to, and then leave it there for a period of time whilst constantly checking the pH to get it down to the sourness of your choosing, right? And we'll show on screen now, and we'll do it again when we go through the recipe, but you'll see on screen now there's some different pH readings that will give you an idea of how sour you want your beer. After you've achieved that, the desired level of sourness, then you'll kind of bring up the boil and you're back to where you would be on a normal brew day,
correct,
right? Yeah. Pitching yeast and adding your adjuncts. So let's get into the recipe run through, and then we can get on to the brew day.
Definitely.
Okay, so we're across to the recipe. Raphael's going to run through the recipe, so off you go.
Yeah, so this recipe I'm not going to call a clone. It's just like a beer that I tried back in Brazil, and that's where I got the idea from. I had this pastry sour in Brazil where they try to simulate like a milkshake, like an ice cream, the Neapolitan ice cream, right? So for a kettle sour, all you need is a 50-50 pale ale and wheat. In this case, I use a little bit more pale ale, not as much wheat, and that's pretty much it for the grains. And then I used 500 grams of lactose in the end of the fermentation.
So you see there's...
At the end of the boiling, sorry.
Yeah, this says here the strawberry, that's obviously added in the secondary. So onto the hops?
Onto the hops. Again, for a kettle sour, you don't want a hoppy... you can do like a hop sour, it's a different case. But for this one, for a normal kettle sour, it's just like up to 10 IBUs. If you get too much IBUs, you're going to start to like compete with the sourness. That's not what we... that's not what we went for. So we just went for like any hops. It's just for bittering. So 4.5 grams of Warrior gave us 8.6.
Yep, and then onto the water profile. I guess it's worthwhile noting we shot for a pH of about 5.2. I think we hit that. Anything else from the miscellaneous tab? So there's obviously some adjuncts in here as well.
Yeah, so the adjuncts are also we also infused or used in the secondary, which is 250 grams of cocoa nibs. That's to represent the chocolate part of the Neapolitan, and 7 teaspoons, which correspond to 7 pods, I believe. That's to give you the vanilla flavor in the ice cream.
And obviously strawberries, which is listed above, but that was also in the secondary, right?
Correct.
Frozen
strawberries. So just to mention, the 5.9 phosphoric acid is not in the mash. That's in the later on when you want the pH a little bit lower before you added the lactobacillus. But for the water, I think we use 2.9 calcium chloride, a little bit of Epsom, and a little bit of phosphoric acid.
Yeah, I think it was about half of what was specified here. So onto the yeast.
Onto the yeast again. After you bring back to the boil and chill and pitch the yeast, any neutral yeast is gonna be good. Some people use USO5. We use Nottingham because we had some Nottingham on hand here, so that's what we went for. But you can use any neutral yeast. So
the mash profile is pretty straightforward as well. 65 degrees, 60 minutes, mash out. And there's the water profile just down the bottom here. I guess it's worthwhile mentioning here, and we'll run through the steps when we go through the brew day, but we were shooting for a pH of 3.3, I think, right? We wanted to try to get that quite sour, try to balance out the other sweetnesses in there, right? So you'll see on screen now, that's kind of the options, I guess, we had. And there's some good information on a website too, right, if you wanted to check it out?
Yeah, so if you go on the Milk Defunct, if I'm not wrong, just Google Milk Defunct and look for a sour beer, they're gonna give you a lot of information. It's probably one of the best sites out there.
Okay, so I think what's left to do is go across to the shots of the brew day.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so just adding the phosphoric acid there, just to bring the mash pH down to 5.2, added about 3 mils there, and then just adding the salts as per the recipe. Mashing in a pretty light grain bill, so no problems with efficiency or dough balls or anything like that. It was pretty straightforward there. And then the mash pH was 5.13. It says 35 degrees there, but I took another measurement down at 22, and it was still, I think, 5.15 it ended up being there. The next was the sparge. Again, very quick sparge, just with a little fermenter down there, preheated that water before. And then the pre-boil gravity was 36. I think we're shooting for 38 there. So 36 is what we got there. And then it was just a matter of bringing it up to boil for, just 10, 15 minutes.
15 minutes, yeah, just to kill any bacteria or any undesirable thing there.
Cool. Okay, so just using phosphoric acid here after it's down at 40 degrees to bring the pH down to 4.4. I think I added like 3 mils and then took a reading, and then another 3 mils, then took a reading, and I think 1 mil. This is after the first reading, so it's come down to 4.94. Then added another 3 mils it was, and just keep on checking, making sure that they're 4.51 there. And then I didn't show the last one, but I added a mil, and that got us down to 4.4. So the next thing we added, after it was down to 4.4, we added the probiotic. So this is
Do you remember how many did you use?
I used 3 tablets, and I guess it's important there. You'll see on the screen, whatever you use, I know you can use other things, right?
Yeah, you can use like, I've seen people using Yakult or like Greek yogurt. I've done before with yogurt. It works fine. It's a little bit cheaper than these probiotics. But these ones are quite simple.
So 3 of these, kind of just, and then left it, and then kind of kept on checking it throughout the next couple of days. So you can see here, after they're added, kind of just using the Glad wrap to somewhat seal. It doesn't need to be super tight. I got a bit carried away with the Glad wrap there, but just trying to. What we want to do now is to kind of put some CO2 in there and form like a CO2 blanket on top of it. So we want to form that CO2 blanket on top of the wort that's there. I just use a CO2 bottle, and we're using the water pump of the Brewzilla to connect directly to the CO2 bottle, feed some CO2 through down through the water pump, up through the solution, and to push the oxygen out. The tube for the Fermzilla actually fits quite nicely directly across the CO2 bottle. I'm just using a clamp here, but you didn't really need to. You could probably just hold that on there. But so the idea is to make sure that that's nice and tight, and trying to gradually introduce some pressure from the CO2 bottle into the Brewzilla, and then kind of let it push out the oxygen and have that CO2 blanket on top.
Yeah, the only reason you don't want oxygen is because the lactobacillus with the oxygen produces different kinds of acids, and some of them you don't want it because it gives you off flavors.
Okay, so you can see here the water pump is in the on position. I'm about to turn that to the off position, so that you would have the water pump off, gently increase some pressure, then open up the water pump, and you'll see that the area, the CO2 is being pushed in there, and that would be kind of pushing out some oxygen as well. So I've just done that for a little while, just to probably about 15-20 seconds, and then kind of turn the water pump off, and then decrease the pressure on the CO2, just so there wasn't any oxygen going back through that, or any chance of oxygen going back through that. So after, I think it was like a day and a half, I checked for maybe 3 or 4 times throughout there, and the last time I checked it was 3.31. Again, the temperature was a little bit high, but again, that was very close to what it was reading at 20 degrees. So now, after you hit that 3.3 or your desired sourness, you got a sour beer, right?
Yeah, so pretty much from now on, from here, you have like a sour beer. That's the process. But from now on, I think you just leave your creativity takes place, and you just add whatever you want. Yeah,
when we're adding a couple of, you can add any kind of type of fruits, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so from this point on, I just brought it up to boil, and then we're going to add our hop additions, which is a very small amount of Warrior at 60 minutes. Then we just add the 500 grams of lactose, just a little bit of time to make sure it doesn't kind of clog together. So just taking the final gravity here, I think it was 48, 49, and kind of overshot that a little bit. I think I boiled for a little bit longer. And then the next step was easy. There was no hops in this, so just was able to use the water pump to get the wort into the Brewzilla. Okay, so just pitching yeast there, just a powdered yeast, no need to aerate or anything like that, and then straight into the fermenter. Okay, so for the cocoa nibs, just added some vodka into a sealable bag, just trying to make sure that the vodka had contact with all the cocoa nibs, and just let it sit there for about half a day.
You can leave a little bit longer if you want.
Yep, yeah, I probably should have left it a little bit longer in hindsight, but that's that. Before we get onto the strawberries, just we put everything into hop socks. I split the cocoa nibs across 2 hop socks, and then just put the strawberries in one. Of course, just making sure everything's super sanitized before you do that. The next thing I done was the frozen strawberries. Just kind of put them in a fry pan, brought them up to
So
heat.
you made like a puree.
Made like a puree, squashed them all up and stuff like that. Just trying to increase that surface area into the wort. And then just showing here, putting the cocoa nibs across 2 hop socks, and the strawberries are already in there. For the vanilla, we didn't need to put in a hop sock or anything like that. I think we just added like 7 generous kind of tablespoons.
Yeah, if you don't have the paste, you just get the vanilla pod and soak in vodka as well. But this one is so much handy, and the work with the vanilla pod is so hard. It's very sticky. This one is exactly the same. I think each teaspoon corresponded to 1 vanilla
Exactly.
pod.
Yep.
So easy.
Yep. Okay, and then when it comes time to add that into the fermenter, obviously making sure everything's sanitized is important. Just making sure that when you drop that in, some people use marbles inside the hop socks. I didn't on this occasion. Everything kind of sat quite nicely in there. It wasn't kind of hanging out too much. And then after let them sit, we enclosed transfer.
You can see the difference in color, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So we enclosed transfer from there to the keg. Okay, so before we taste the beer, we forgot to run through the fermentation profile. Raphael's just left to go home, so we'll just run through that very quickly before we go on to taste the beer. So started off at 18 degrees, raised to 19 degrees. I think after like day 3, I believe that was when we added the fruits and the other adjuncts. It didn't take long to get to final gravity, and then after that, let it sit for a couple of days to clean up, and that's when we put in the keg. So let's get on to tasting the beer. Now, what's left to do is to taste the beer. Cheers.
Cheers. Very nice head. Very nice beer.
Very nice beer. Yeah. I think we mentioned before about the colour. So there's a slight tinge.
Yeah, there's a lot of light here, so it doesn't look as tinged as we would expect it.
But you don't expect that much colour as from
the strawberry. Yeah, the strawberry doesn't give as much color as if you use like raspberries or blueberries. Mm-hmm. I think they have like the blueberries have like the skin which releases a lot of color.
Okay.
The raspberries are quite red.
Yep.
The strawberries we only use 500 grams.
Yep.
Maybe if you use a kilo, you would make a little bit more pinkish, reddish. But this one's quite nice. You still have like a little reminder of a strawberry in the beer.
Yeah, let's give it a smell. Yeah, I mean, you can smell the strawberries are there.
It's like a Neapolitan ice cream.
Absolutely,
right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, like I said at the beginning of the video, it's not like a clone. I don't consider this a clone because I have no clue of the beer. I just have an idea. Mm-hmm. The beer that I tried in Brazil had a little bit more chocolate. I'm not sure if the way they infused the cocoa nibs were a little bit different, or if we rushed a little bit.
Yeah, possibly. I think
because 250 grams seems to be enough.
Yep.
It's still here.
Maybe just leave it in the vodka for a little bit longer, right?
Yeah, I would say.
A bit more vodka. Cool. On the nose.
But then you have like the sweetness of the ice cream, like the lactose.
Sure. Yeah. Strawberries. Let's give it a taste.
The vanilla as well.
Vanilla. Yeah. The vanilla is
7 pods or 7 teaspoons. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Oh, that's good. That's good. I mean, the sourness. I think it was 3.3 kind of pH from a pH perspective. The sourness is there.
Yeah.
But it's accompanied, like we were saying, with the strawberry and the lactose and the vanilla. Vanilla's definitely there too, right?
I think if you want to do just a plain kettle sour beer without the fruits, it would be very sour. If you like sour beer, or even if you use different fruits, maybe pineapple can add a little bit of more sourness or lime.
Yep.
I don't know, but I think the lactose, vanilla, and the strawberries sort of back it up a little bit. So it's not too. It is sour. You can taste it, but you have a bit of sweetness.
Oh man, yeah. The strawberry's defined, the vanilla is defined, a little bit of the sweetness of the body from the lactose. Yeah, like we said with the cocoa nibs, it's there, I guess, if you search for it, but it's probably like it to be a little more dominant than what it is, right?
Yeah.
So I think maybe leaving it there for the a little bit longer, or maybe kind of mashing up the cocoa nibs a little bit. But I mean, it's a fantastic beer.
So if your missus likes cider, I think that's a good beer.
Sure,
to brew, right?
absolutely. I mean,
it has like a little bit of sourness, but the sweetness is good beer.
Fantastic. So. This is the first time we've done a sour on this channel. If you like these type of videos, we tried to go through every kind of step in detail. It was quite a bit of work to kind of put it all together. So if you like this type of videos, let us know. We do brew days, we do brewery interviews, we do beer tastings with guests, we do live beer tastings. We're trying to build this channel. So if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing. Let us know. Get in touch. We'd love for you to join us. So until the next brew day. Cheers.